Hello dear viewer! Today's challenge is turning Vulcanus into our new home, our new main base. Because we left and abandoned Nauvis for good. We already crafted a bunch of foundries and big mining drills. But we are short on substations, which is why I temporarily craft a couple of red circuits. Before we build anything, we have to secure our power production. This is a 32 turbines blueprint, turning steam from acid neutralization into electricity. Under normal circumstances we would have to use steam engines. But since I mined a single piece of uranium on Nauvis, followed by researching nuclear power, turbines are indeed unlocked already. The chemical plant for acid neutralization requires calcite and sulfuric acid. In order to make Vulcanus our new home, we have to produce all science packs here and build some labs to do research. This power plant provides 180 megawatts. That's ample power for our first production lines. We did abandon the Nauvis base, but then I had this idea, wait a second, aren't there some science packs left? Maybe we can squeeze some more research out of this planet. But as you can see, the initial iron ore starter patch is about to be depleted. I managed to research logistics too, which means we can now craft fast transport belts. I really don't want to deal with the slow yellow ones on this high throughput planet. To craft belts, splitters and underground belts, always use foundries. The foundry's 50% productivity bonus applies, even on non-intermediate items. The recently built power plant relies on sulfuric acid. To make sure this will never run out, I'm going to maximize the number of pump jacks. Since Factorio 2.1, these can be flipped. It's not a big deal, but it makes connecting them with pipes a bit easier. Next, I want to streamline lava processing. Adjacent to this large and beautiful lava lake, I will build this blueprint. 4 foundries each for molten copper and molten iron. Usually I would turn the resulting stone into landfill to get rid of it. But since Vulcanus is our new main planet, stone is valuable and required for multiple products. For example, the military science pack. Did you know that Whoop nerfed the calcite consumption of acid neutralization by a factor of 10? Unfortunately, they didn't nerf the calcite consumption of lava processing by the same amount. Calcite in 2.1 is still an easy, low throughput resource. Just 2 big mining drills will feed the entire base. Stone is very valuable, as said before, but excess stone still has to be removed. The stone was made in the fires of this lake. It must be taken and cast back into the fiery chasm from whence it came. To transport the molten copper and iron to their destinations, I built this nice pipeline. It's a new design with underground pipes and normal pipes. 1 tile in between to make perpendicular connections easy. Why did I choose this particular design? Because reasons. I think it looks nice and the 2 normal pipe segments can easily be replaced with a pump, if the pipeline is overextended. Next I'm building a small 4-assembler green circuit subfactory. Green circuits are made from molten iron and molten copper exclusively, which means I only have to connect the subfactory to the pipeline. No coal or sulfuric acid required. Remember, at this point we only have fast inserters with a stack size of 1. Later I can replace them with bulk inserters. We have copper, iron, coal, sulfuric acid and green circuits. Time to pre-plan the positioning of all subfactories. Since we are not building a main bus, the most important thing is to leave enough space between the subfactories. That's easier said than done, because we haven't killed a demolisher yet. The available building space is tight, yeah! Anyways, that's red and green science, labs and a military science production. Moving on with chemical science. These blueprints are based on the Nauvis blueprints, but I changed a couple of things. For example, the pipe production for engines and the copper wire production for red circuits can be done with foundries. Also very important, oil processing to get plastic. This will be a 4 refinery, simple coal liquefaction subfactory. This recipe requires large quantities of coal. Upgrading to the advanced or actually normal coal liquefaction is very important later. Else the available coal patch might be a bottleneck. To get going we not only need calcite but also sulfuric acid. Out comes heavy oil, which then has to be cracked into light oil and then petroleum gas. These are the Nauvis blueprints, but on Vulcanus we need double the heavy oil cracking. At this point I don't really care about oil product balancing. Because right now we don't require light oil to make rocket fuel. Vulcanus is our only and main planet. I only care about petroleum gas for now, to make plastic. I will produce the required water on site using these 2 chemical plants. Sulfuric acid and calcite are right there, so that's an easy choice. All that's left to do is connect the outgoing water to the oil cracking facilities. There we go, oil processing is done. We can now continue making plastic. I already built a coal belt, let's construct everything else. I know it's silly, but I like to block the unused output on those splitters. Now that plastic is available, we can start constructing the red circuit subfactory. I'm utilizing 2 roboports and 20 bots for construction. No more manual building required. Bots are a huge quality of life improvement. Once you have them, you don't want to go back. Okay, let's connect the green circuit belt and then the plastic belt. I expect plastic and the entire oil processing to be the bottleneck right now. But it's fine for now, we will improve all of this in a minute. Speaking of improvements, I made an upgrade planner for belts. I want to turn all yellow belts into red fast transport belts. Cause why not? Making belts on Vulcanus is basically free. You know what's also free? Subscribing to my channel to not miss the next episode. We move on building the engine subfactory. Here you can see the foundry making pipes. Other than that, we require gears and steel. Military science isn't even researched at this point, which is why you see the not available symbols. I really like this compact subfactory design. No foundries, which means this also works on Nauvis. When it comes to the labs, I'm utilizing the exact same design used on Nauvis already. It can easily handle 10 different science packs. To produce chemical science we need sulfur. It's kinda weird to produce it from petroleum gas and water, since sulfuric acid is free on Vulcanus. There's no way to turn it directly back into sulfur. With that out of the way, we have to cast molten iron and molten copper into the required intermediates. Vulcanus works best when only transporting liquids over long distances, making all resulting products on site, instead of long belt transportation. The blueprints have display panels indicating which item has to go where. For the red and green science production, I decided to make green circuits on site as well. The ratio green circuits to inserters to green science matches exactly. When researching, always use productivity modules. That's free science. I forgot to craft some, so let's speed things up a bit. Finally, we can complete the research we couldn't get to before. Things like speed modules, trains, or the military science progression. Target science production rate is 45 science per minute right now. Let's continue setting up intermediates for the military science subfactory. This time we need steel and more iron plates. We don't need that many copper plates. Taking some from the already existing copper plate production is in order. Since military science isn't unlocked yet, let me set up the engine production. Steel gears and pipes, they all need molten iron only. Engines are required to make chemical science. We already have sulfur and red circuits, which is great because we are running out of red and green science research soon. Blue science will then be required for better upgrades. It will share a belt with military science going into the labs. Speaking of military science, to produce it we need stone bricks. That's why I set splitter priority right here. I buffer extra stone in 6 steel chests. I told you earlier, when Vulcanus is your main planet, stone is very valuable. And every time a recipe produces 2 items at once, you always have to care about balancing. Lava processing produces molten iron, copper and stone. We already deal with extra stone blocking production by throwing it into lava. But what if lava processing stops because the liquid storage is full? But we need stone. This could deadlock our entire base, which is why I need a way to get rid of excess fluids. This pump is only enabled when there's more than 20,000 molten copper in the storage tank. I then build a foundry and connect it to a decider combinator. The decider combinator toggles a cast low density structure recipe on and off. The foundry has set recipe. By doing this, we pump molten copper into the foundry. When the recipe resets, the molten copper, in this case 500, is just gone. And since the pump only allows throughput one way, the liquid cannot be pumped back into the pipeline. And just like this, we make sure that there's always room for some more molten copper. which ensures a constant stone production, even if there's no molten copper demand. I'm happy with what we've built so far. The next challenge will be producing the Metallurgic science pack. Since we still don't have a tungsten ore patch, mining rocks is the only source of tungsten ore. To be as efficient and productive as possible, we have to craft productivity modules level 2. To make them, we need some processing units. I certainly don't want to waste any tungsten, because I'm still considering killing the first demolisher with artillery. Research would require 1500 science packs. Let's worry about that later and build a tungsten carbide factory first. I'm not worried about coal at all, so no productivity modules for the carbon production. The tungsten carbide assemblers, on the other hand, and the foundries making tungsten steel and the science pack, they absolutely need modules. Of course, we also have to construct a new build to feed the science packs into the labs. Okay, a sulfuric acid connection is still missing. There are 2 steel chests to manually supply tungsten ore for the subfactory. Later, there will hopefully be a belt coming from the first tungsten ore mining patch. All that's left to do is set the recipe and rotate these foundries. Oh, molten copper is still missing. Let me quickly build a pipeline to fix this problem. I decided to remove the inserters of the top foundries, since I don't have the required productivity modules yet. The first metallurgic science packs are on their way, but I need more tungsten, so let's farm more rocks. In the top right corner you can see that I'm working on physical projectile damage right now. These upgrades significantly increase the damage of my spaceship. At level 5 automatic flight is possible, no more hand flying. If you remember the previous episode, Boxcar can get space science from my other platform in Nauvis orbit. That's why I'm now preparing the cargo landing pad for space science. I will request 2000 packs at once. It's finally time to activate the spaceship's schedule. A circuit condition prevented it from going to Vulcanus. 2000 science packs are already on board. Physical projectile speed is still at level 2. What's important is damage at level 5. I still have to set up the request for the space science packs. 2000. And here they come. Before researching anything with the metallurgic science packs, I have to make sure that the labs also use productivity modules level 2. We are about to find out if the ship makes it back to Nauvis successfully. Boxcar travels at a speed of 120 to 130 kilometers per second. From here on, visiting other planets is on the table. Especially Fulgora and its EM plants would be nice to have. But enough dreaming about the future, let's focus on the major issue at hand, getting rid of this guy. Will it be gun turrets, poison capsules, artillery? Before making the decision, I want to first increase the efficiency of this base. Coal is the only resource that can potentially deplete, which is why I researched coal liquefaction first. Research is only 500 science packs. It will significantly improve the coal to plastic ratio. Unfortunately, even for these 500 science packs, I have to mine more rocks. The starting area has already been cleared. Fortunately, demolishers don't care about you mining rocks in their territory. Coal liquefaction is about to be available. We also got rushed to space, researching a planetary technology before using purple or golden science packs, and logistic network embargo, since we haven't used any requester chests yet. In fact, we don't even have the logistics system researched. I'm storing and securing heavy oil in this storage tank. Very important first step to transition to the better coal liquefaction recipe. Coal liquefaction produces heavy oil, but it also needs heavy oil for production. Which means we have to establish a loop and have initial heavy oil ready to start crafting. I still remember my Desert Death World Megabase before Space Age was released. It made all oil products using coal liquefaction. Who was already subscribed back then? I'm going to build the refineries over here somewhere, with the pipes pointing south. It's close to the coal patch and I have some space in between for storage tanks. The gap you can see between the pipeline on the left and the belt is 3 tiles wide. This allows us to use beacons later on. To store the 3 outgoing oil products, I'm using the same system as on Nauvis before. One of the 2 pumps on each storage tank is connected with circuit logic, to only enable it when there's enough oil in the tank. Coal liquefaction also requires steam. I'm going to make it in these two chemical plants. Finally, we are kickstarting production by utilizing the heavy oil we stored earlier for this purpose. I'm going to wait for a while until there's a large enough heavy oil buffer. To ensure that there's always heavy oil in this loop for the refineries, I connected this pump to a pipe. The pipe is set to read pipeline contents. This wasn't possible in 2.0. Back then the only way to read liquid amounts was a connection to a storage tank, not a regular pipe segment. Since we don't have beacons yet, I'm just going to use speed modules to speed up production. Oh, I just noticed here on Vulcanus the liquid order is flipped. Petroleum gas is in the leftmost tank and light oil in the rightmost. All that's left to do now is connect the pumps to the oil cracking and plastic production. Oh, and I totally forgot we deconstructed the water production. Let's rebuild the chemical plant over here. Without any water we can't crack oil. That's it, our coal liquefaction factory is up and running. Next, we have to get rid of the demolisher guarding the tungsten ore patch. But this will happen next episode. I hope you'll subscribe and watch it when it comes out. A huge thank you to my Patreon supporters who make this content possible. Rare members have access to all save games of this run and previous ones. Bye.